Saturday seminar lecture series. Today we have Dr. R.L. Behera, who will be speaking on the magic of word and episto-semantical appraisal. Today we have with us a retired professor and former head of department, Banaras Hindu University, Professor D.N. Tiwari sir, who has kindly agreed to chair the session. Before we formally begin, I would request our uh, speaker and head of the department and the chairperson of the day to kindly garland the statue of Mahamanaji. Uh, Professor Durgesh Chaudhary sir, please, and sir, Pramod sir, please join. Uh, Before we carry on with the event, I would request Dr. Neeti to please come and recite the Mangala Charan. Over to you, Dr. Neeti.
नमस्कार. अनादिनिधनं ब्रह्मशब्दतत्त्वं यदक्षरं विवर्तते अर्थभावेन प्रक्रिया जगतो यतः दिक्कालादि अनवच्छिन्न अनन्तचिन्मात्रमूर्तये स्वानुभूत्येकमानाय नमः शान्ताय तेजसे. हरि ओम.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neeti. Now I would request our head of the department to facilitate our speaker and chairperson. Take a picture. Now, please facilitate our speaker, Dr. Rahul. Uh, Thank you so much, sir, and Dr. Rahul. And now I would request our head of the department to please come over to the podium and formally welcome all the dignitaries.
परम आदरणीय प्रोफेसर डी एन तिवारी सर, शनिवारी संगोष्ठी के अध्यक्ष, वक्ता राजीव लोचन बेहरा जी, संगोष्ठी की संयोजिका प्रियंका मिश्रा जी, सभागार में उपस्थित विभागीय सहयोगीगण, छात्रों, ऑनलाइन संगोष्ठी से जुड़े हुए विद्वान मनीषीगण, प्रोफेसर डी.ए. गंगाधर सर, प्रोफेसर शामशिव प्रसाद सर, डॉक्टर जय सिंह जी और अन्य विद्वज्जन तथा मित्रों, इस शनिवारी संगोष्ठी में दर्शन एवं धर्म विभाग की ओर से आपका स्वागत करते हैं। इस बार वक्ता हम सबके बीच के डॉक्टर राजीव लोचन बेहरा जी हैं। मित्रों, शनिवारी संगोष्ठी की परिकल्पना यह है कि विभाग की ये संगोष्ठी है, विभाग के लोगों का भी उसमें प्रतिभागित्व अधिक से अधिक हो। इसी क्रम में राजीव लोचन बेहरा जी वह इस बार अपनी प्रस्तुति प्रस्तुत करेंगे। ऐसा तय हुआ है कि अगले बार डॉक्टर राहुल मौर्य जी, और इसी तरह से हर महीने विभाग के एक अध्यापक वो अपनी प्रस्तुति जो है शनिवारी संगोष्ठी में करेंगे। आगे से ये योजना है जो इसी तरह से शनिवारी संगोष्ठी में छात्रों की तरफ से भी हर महीने कम से कम एक प्रेजेंटेशन हो। उम्मीद करते हैं हम जो है इसमें सफल होंगे, क्योंकि आखिर ये सबका आयोजन है। जहाँ भी अच्छी बातें हैं वो सामने आनी चाहिए इस गोष्ठी के माध्यम से, और ये क्रम चलते रहना चाहिए। हम आप सब लोगों का हृदय से स्वागत करते हैं, विशेष रूप से जो ऑनलाइन जो इससे जुड़े हुए हैं उन सब का। वो चूंकि यहाँ उपस्थित नहीं है और भीषण गर्मी के बावजूद इस सेमिनार हॉल में कुछ लोग इकट्ठे हैं, आपको आश्चर्य होगा। जानबूझ करके ऐसा किया गया था जो गर्मी से लोगों को बचाव हो। तो क्लियरली ऐसा नहीं कहा गया जो ये जो है ऑफलाइन है, लेकिन तो भी ये काफी लोग हैं। और जैसा कि होता है, हाँ, कोई भी आयोजन उसमें अंत में जो है अधिक से अधिक लोग शामिल होते ही। तो हम सबका हृदय से स्वागत करते हैं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir, for your warm welcome. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker and the chairperson briefly. I am profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to introduce the speaker for the day, Dr. R.L. Behera, who is our colleague and a friend. Dr. R.L. Behera is the faculty of the Department of Philosophy and Religion at Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. He was previously working as a faculty in the PG Department of Philosophy at Utkal University, Bhubaneswar. He did master in philosophy from Utkal University and did his research program, MPhil, PhD, and postdoc in philosophy from the Central University of Hyderabad. His area of specializations are analytic philosophy, philosophy of language, philosophy of mind, critical discourse analysis, Bhartari philosophy of semantics, philosophy of religion, epistemology, almost everything. Dr. R.L. Behera has published a book titled The Verification Theory of Meaning, Aquinian Perspective by international publisher in 2015. He has published a chapter titled Criminalization of Politics in India, a philosophical and sociological inquiry in an edited book titled Criminalization of Indian Politics. And he has also published a chapter titled Socio-Economic Impact of COVID-19 in an edited book titled COVID-19 in the Environmental Impact, Concern and Management of Coronavirus. He has published 2 dozens of articles in national and international research journals and presented more than 2 dozen of research papers in international and national conferences and seminars. He has also received one research project from IOE seed grant at Banaras Hindu University. So I welcome you, Dr. R.L. Behera, in this Saturday seminar. And now I would introduce Professor D.N. Tiwari, sir. Sir has 32 years of teaching experience in philosophy. His area of specializations are Indian philosophy in general and philosophy of language and analysis in particular. He is also the member of many editorial boards and life member of many philosophical journals and bodies. He has delivered more than 100 lectures in different national and international seminars and conferences. He has also organized many refresher courses, workshops, and national seminars. I welcome you, sir. Thank you for being with us today. So without further delay, I would request the honorable speaker to address the gathering. Over to you, Dr. Behera.
Thank you. Thank you so much. At the very outset of my talk, I convey my best regard to the chairman who is the inspiration of me, and my best regard to the head of the department, Professor Anand Misra, who is the strength of me and also strength all of my colleagues, those who always support and help me and uh, always inspire me to do many things very happily. And also I thank to the scholars, those who always love me. All of the students of this department love me very, very much. Today, I'd like to talk on this topic, the magic of words and episto-semantical appraisal. The objective of this study is that to put light on the way words means that claims about the coextensiveness of the sentential relation and the evidential relation that argument towards an overall of semantic holism. Moreover, the meaning of companion that forsakes the
Loudly, please, loudly.
discrete thought from the account of mental repetition and perfect accomplishes with the reference and efficacy meaning, mingling by the claims of semantic holism as anticipated by many holists. My conclusion would be closer to the sympathetic to meaning holism indoctrinated by the magical nature of the words. Now, I would like to introduce this concept to what I have taken it. As you know that humans are meaning-seeking creatures, words are the vehicle of meaning. and we understand about something by the help of words. The scientific study of meaning is called semantics. So the semantic appropriateness dependent on the way words mean. But to measure the density of semantics of words, what depends on epistemic models. Philosophy of language investigates the nature of human language, its use, its origin, its relationship with meaning and truth, and also how language relates to human thought and understanding and reality. Word is the tiniest unit of language which has a specific meaning and can be conveyed by itself. Words are uncluttered semantic units. In written text, words are recognized by the white spaces between them. In linguistic analysis, we are interested in spoken words. A word is a free morpheme or a combination of morphemes that together form a rudimentary segment of speech. Words are magic because words can go over our mind and the world because it has some power when it uses in language. Besides, words are the power of language that is something considered as magical relationship or magical power of words. According to James Dowd, words can make our heart beat faster, make you sweat, make you cry, make you fall in love. So instead consider the words are of the supernatural sort, otherworldly yet not, gifted to us by some divine spirit, maybe ever changing, not ours, simply floating in us and around us, shaping our world and each other, but still shaped by our own innate internal passion, internal energy. He, he had shared his experience here that one day he was pretending to take some notes in a meeting. He was watching his hand was moving across his notebook and noticed something odd. With slight unconscious movement of his pen, magic was happening. Symbols, shapes, ideas were coming up life, bleeding forth from his pen, and they evoked from further meaning, emotion, wonder in his mind. He wiggled his pen on the page, and images were born in his brain. Incredible. This was no small thing. This was something unbelievable that he had simply never paid any attention to. And he realized that he wasn't merely spelling words, he was doing something wonderful. He was casting spells. It was magic. Here, there is some explanatory gap in between use of words and understanding of words. So it seems skeptical. Skeptical in the sense our understanding should be based on logic and meaning of words should be derived from truth. But our understanding is bound by emotion and the meaning of words derived from belief. For doubt, we believe in words. We breathe life into them. We toss them into the world and they thrive. But when we stop, when we abandon them, regardless of their linguistic evolution, regardless of their past, they die. They exist to communicate, they express to meaning and understanding. In fact, when we spell a word, actually we try to influence others by this process. It's a magical power of word. In this context, Yale professor Dr. Mike Jim argues that the term spell started to take on the meaning of a magical incantation in the Middle Ages. In the Indo-European tradition, words were always viewed as having magical abilities. For example, the daughter languages of Proto-Indo-European arranged the consonants in the root for the animal of its bizarre way. This is probably because the original speakers feared that if they said the actual words of wolf, it would magically cause the animal to appear. It's the origin of coarse word. The belief, the usage of a particular word said powerful negative effect. The ability to coerce yourself or others. Furthermore, if we consider the power of one word alone, a single magical word cannot only change something's meaning. It can convince someone to change how they think. In 1974, an experiment was conducted in which people were asked to recall what they had seen in a car crash video. Some were asked if they had seen the broken headlight, and some if they had seen a broken headlight. Those who were asked if they had seen the broken headlight were three times a likely to see it as those in the other group. Truth was, there was never any broken headlight in the video. A small collection of letters created a memory people believed was true. They reported to something that never even existed. Yeah, you got it. It was magic. According to Dow, words were sacred. They deserve respect. If you get the right ones in the right order, you can throw the world a little. Our brain is the endless canvas where words live and breathe, and it open to all. Artist, designer, strategist, feelings, thinkers, any sort of creator in this world, we too have the power to create thoughts, feelings, and imaginary in our mind, in our own way. We speak, we write, we think. We are irresistible as well. We are human, we can control our mind. We do it for ourselves without realizing, but we should not forget that we are here today using different types of language by using infinite numbers of words in infinite ways to saturate the semantic appropriateness of words as well as languages for the growth of our communication. That what we considered, that is the magic of communication in human. And also he argued that we should not forget about the force of nature with all the powers of the universe on the landfill of our tongue. Words are mankind's greatest creation, capable of transcending time, space, capable of controlling the human mind, capable of anything else. Now, this paper consists 4 sections. 4 sections. The first section is about the historical review of the idea of words and meaning. The second section focuses on some contemporary view of the idea of words and meaning. And the third section is about the matrix of word meaning problem, which argued that how word and meaning fulfill the epistemic apparatus as well as semantic appropriateness through the way word mean, what we consider as the magic of words. And the last section is about the appraisal of argument of the study. The study of meaning in philosophy is not new, it's very old. But the philosophical significance of the study of meaning is in present era is symmetrical to the Old Testament of the study. So it is important to highlight certain view about the study of meaning from the Old Testament with reference to Plato's Cratylus and its interpretation. One had capacity to convey something by itself, though it seems absurd when we mean something from a word with relation to that sound, but it's a subset of our vocabulary. So we have to use to be of great interest. Plato in his Cratylus says, uncovered the truth principle of language, and then he proceeds to compare modern speculation, respecting the origin and nature of language with the anticipation of his intellect. For Plato, language is not the work of chance, nor does he deny that there is a natural fitness in names. He only insists that this natural fitness should be intelligibly explained. But he has no idea that language is a natural organism. He would have heard with surprise that languages are the common work of whole nations in a primitive or semi-barbarous age. How? He would probably have argued. Could men devoid of art have contrived a structure of such complexities? No answer could have been given to this question, either in ancient or in modern time. Until the nature of primitive antiquity had been thoroughly studied and the instinct of man had been shown to exist in greater force. When this state approaches some nearly to that of child or children or animals, the philosophers of the last century, after their manner, would have vainly endeavored to stress the process by which proper names were converted into common, and would have shown how the last effort of abstraction invented prepositions and auxiliaries. The theologian would have proved that language must have had a divine origin because in childhood, while the organs are pliable, the intelligence is wanting. And when the intelligence is able to frame conceptions, the organs are no longer able to express them. Or, as others are said, man is man because he has the gift of speech, and he could not have invented that which he has. But this would have been an argument too subtle. For Socrates, who rejects the theological account of the origin of language as a accuse for not giving a reason, which he compared to the introduction to the Deus ex machina by the tragic poets when they have to solve a difficulty, thus anticipating many modern controversies in which the primary agency of the divine being is confused with the secondary cause. And God is assumed to have worked in miracle in order to fill up a lacuna in human knowledge. Neither in Plato wrong in surprising that an element of design and art enters into language. The creative power abating is supplemented by a mechanical process. Languages are not made but grow. But they are made as well as grow, bursting into life into a plant or a flower. They are also capable of being trained and improved and engrafted upon one another. The chance in them affected in earlier ages by musical and euphonic improvement, at a later stage by the influence of grammar and logic, and by the poetical and literary use of words. They develop rapidly in childhood, and when they are full growth and said they may still put forth intellectual power like the mind in the body. And rather, we may say that the nobler use of language only begins when the framework is complete. The savage or primitive man, in whom the natural instinct is strongest, is also the greatest improver of the forms of language. He is the poet or maker of word, as in civilized ages, the dialecticians in the definer or distinguisher of them. The later calls the second world of abstract terms into existence, as the former is created in picture sound, which represent natural objects or process. Poetry and philosophy, these two are the two great formative principles of language. When they have passed their first stage of which age of the first invention of the art in general, we only certain conjecture and mythology in a link between them, connecting the visible and invisible until at length the sensuous exterior falls away. The surveillance of the inner and outer world of the idea and the object of sense becomes complete. At a later period, logic, epistemology, and grammar, arts, and enlarge the decaying instinct of language by rule and method, which they gather from analysis and observation. Later, Socrates prefers to gain insight into things by grasping the form behind them, instead of through the contingent and often mistaken names given to them. The production of names or words, onomatopoeia in ancient Greek, tells us only how to individual name givers on things. Socrates calls Cratylus, there is no way to adjective the civil war among names and decide which created the truth. Today, we use the concept of onomatopoeia in a more restricted way. It is applied only to words for sounds. Boom, grass, and flash. That bears a mimetic relationship to a sound in nature. The connection might be more indirect and tenuous in other cases, as in apparently onomatopoetic words are motion, such as slighter and humble, that seem through a kind of synesthetism to intimate a sound that might accompany the motion. But Socrates and Cratylus were also talking about what we can, or what we now call sound symbolism, a much wider range of connections between sounds and what that mean. These include things such as the association in English and related languages between the GL sound and light, as in glisten, glint, glimmer, and glow. Does this sound have an onomatopoetic connection to light, or is it just an arbitrary connection that has come to feel non-arbitrary to native speaker? The question is difficult to even ponder, asking how GL relates to light in a little like inquiring after the connection between music and sadness. We can point to feelings, sensation that suggest they belong to together, but we struggle to come up with an objective arbiter of the connection outside our own experience. This, as we call to this, because the articulation itself produce or constitute the connection. But in a certain sense, the objectivity of the connection is beside the point. This connection still won't underwrite the kinds of hopes and Cratylus said for etymology. At most, they indicate certain affinities between aspect of things, shape, size, and motions, and particular sounds that the human vocal apparatus can produce. But if the connection between glow and glowing were not based on any verifiable affinity, the word's meaning is still accompanied by its sound. Glow would still glow with capital G, would still glow with small g, with glowing. The general question is still remain. What comes to our mind when we see the word? Our initial thought references something to us, means differently. Let us try to do this process of reducing the meaning of words from a triangle that is so traditional, this named as the semantic triangle of meaning. We have two triangles here, but both are symmetrical in a specific sense and both represent to the way what means. Open it, yeah. Yes, look at the three sides of both the triangle. Symbol, quote, and referent. Here, symbol is an element used to represent other things, ideas, or events. A reference is the initial thought you have associated with a word, and a referent is the actual meaning of the word. The symbolic interaction theory states that society is bound together by the common use of symbol. Like peace, justice, love are words people can relate to the same meaning. Whenever I think of the word, can say cherry. Even though the word cherry to me is associated with an herbivorous animal, the word can also mean anything else to other person. I have learned the way we perceive and understand word in all part of the uh, STM. Now, comfort. Yes, the section 2, that is about contemporary views of the idea of words and meaning. Here I have taken the views of important philosophers like Wittgenstein, Wittgenstein's thesis of use theory of meaning, and Walter Benjamin's thesis of the designative language and the world of objects. And Martin Heidegger's thesis of the language is the house of being, and Friedrich Nietzsche's thesis of the prison house of language. We still start from the view of Louis Wittgenstein. According to him, there are two ways of conveying meaning of words. These are semantic of symmetry and semantics of asymmetry. For Wittgenstein, semantics of symmetry means the meaning of a utterance of a speaker can be replaced by another, which says the same. With regard to the nothing of semantics of symmetry, here Hermann Welles argues that semantic symmetry carries with it the connotation of beauty, harmony, and unity. Symmetry is side and narrow. You can use it widely and narrowly as you may define its meaning. In one idea by which men through the ages has tried to comprehend and create order, beauty, and perfection. Semantics of asymmetry means the meanings of an utterance of the speaker cannot be replaced by another which says the different. According to Wittgenstein, the semantics of symmetry points to a typical aspect of utterance. Them can mean the same things. Wittgenstein points out we would never think of replacing one musical theme with another as if they amounted to the same thing, nor would we equate two different painting or two different screams. But with many other sentences, understanding the meaning is demonstrated by putting it in other words. However, the meaning of the music, the painting, the scream seems to be immediately there. A picture tells us itself. Wittgenstein writes, there is no way to replace one expression with another without changing the meaning. In these cases, there is not really a sense of meaning apart from the expression itself. It would be perverse to ask someone who had just let loose a chilling cream. What exactly did you mean by that? Or could you put that another way? Although these two examples of understanding might seem a completely different kind. Wittgenstein holds that they not be divorced from one another. Together they make up his connection of understanding. And indeed, most of our language does seem to lie somewhere along a spectrum between simply designating its meaning and actually embedding it. On one end of the spectrum, we can imagine, as Wittgenstein does, people who speak a language insisting only of vocal gestures that communicate only themselves. On the other end lies a language which uses the soul of the words played on part. Here, meaning blind people. Wittgenstein writes, would use words without expressing the meanings is connecting to words at all. They would use them the way of mathematician uses its x to designate the side of the triangle without the word seeming to embody the meaning in any ways. For example, levers might mean book, but it doesn't mean it the way that book does. But neither of these imaginary languages seems capable of anything like the range of expressive richness of actual human language. According to Benjamin, human language emerges out of more basic imitative practices both in the life of the child and in the evolution of language itself. It faces a problem that is about the externalization of meaning. In this context, Benjamin argues that language such as a very basic sense of meaning, which Genesis construe as God's creative speech. It is a fundamental given and constituent aspect of reality being itself. Language as such means in the way that pictures and gestures mean. It means itself. We abandon the communication of the create, concrete and you can say immediate. Benjamin pains for abstract and immediate words that vainly significance to stand for things instead of just imitating aspect of them. As a result of this fall, we exile ourselves from immediate engagement with the natural world. For Benjamin, designative language and the world of object that it brings about are made possible by a kind of forgetfulness. Our language is composed of words that have undergone countless transformations and whose origins, mimetic connection to reality, have been lost. The immediate meaning of figurative imitations and metaphor dies and detaches from the concrete context in which it originally communicated. Now, our language is dead art, still connected to the things, but so withered in now appear is only an arbitrary and abstract sign. Words appear to us like a faded landscape painting appears to a half-blind man. He no longer makes out the figure depicted, but remembering what it signifies. He instead makes the shapes as spoken. Using them, he can now to refer to mountains and streams in the abstract, no longer constrained by immediacy of sense, free to replace the shapes with another expression if he likes. He gains a world only by losing his ability to really see it. Does this new kind of interchangeable expressions constitute a different way of meaning from the kind of meaning that tells me itself? Wittgenstein is wary of the very conception of meaning detached from expression, not only in the later case, but also in the case of interchangeable words. He doesn't refer to the two sentences as meaning the same thing, but only to the practice we have of replacing one with another. Whenever we inquire after the meaning of words, we never get the things that it means. A permanent definition that underlines the word, but only another way of saying it. Despite its pretension, the dictionary is no more than a pedantic and over exact thesis. It doesn't offer meaning, only the words. The way the intellectual domain has been figured by words originating in our interaction with the physical environment can mislead us into the abstruse, multi-level ontologies that plug life philosophy. Wittgenstein never suggests that we abandon these metaphors of our intellectual life that are constituted by our language. It is unclear that we awaken. That is what it would mean if we did. Wittgenstein claims that our form of life. Now come to Heidegger. Martin Heidegger claims that language is settled to being by the way of making being to say something in language. For him, in rest of any purpose, there is no language. So language is appropriated in saying, and saying is in essential of being, which discovers its voice in the word that institutes in the language. The relation between language and being is not possible withdraw of any rule. Rather, it's a subject to supreme necessity. So, to say who we are human being. Or sorts committed to and within the being of language and can never step out of it and look at it from somewhere else. Now, Nietzsche said that, Friedrich Nietzsche said that we are confined within our own meager language and its absence of abstractions which fall short of the real world even while they purport to describe it truthfully. What do you call it? Prison house of language. Here, language is deemed inadequate to the world, an impulsive instrument for pursuing and expressing truth. But this view assumes exactly the same division between language and world as the one it criticizes. It's just less sanguine about reaching across the divide. To both way of thinking, whether we can reach it or not, there is something out there. The way things are, which language is meant to designate. But it's a big difficulty here. Wittgenstein writes, it's not to represent the matter as if they were something that one couldn't do. For him, it is the divide. It is the divide itself which places language on one side and the world on the other, which needs to be questioned, not whether the divide can be bridged. This is not to say that the divide should be regarded as a fiction. It's rather an achievement, but one with certain limits that are easily forgotten. In philosophy especially, where removing language from the context in which it has a use, lends and language a kind of magical power, leads to confusion. We begin to puzzle about what the word refers to out there in the world, instead of attending to what it actually does in particular linguistic practices. What it tells us, these problems are not only philosophical, in all kinds of domains, science, technology, politics, religion, etc. We are taking useful elucidations and turning them into puzzle, frozen, and potentially perilous ideologies. Instead of looking at the concrete application of the words, we disengage them from practice and instill them the pictures they generate with greater reality than the reality itself. Now come for the next section, that is about matrix of the word meaning problem. There are several numbers of matrix for which we can determine the word meaning problems, like word-word relation. Here, word-word relations means something that is semantic relationship between two words. When two similar words makes relationship between each other, what they mean? When two synonymous words make relationship between each other, what they mean? See the table as follows. Table is yes. This is the table. So in this table represents that for the term weak. Weak. When we used as in weak person. Some synonyms are fragile, feeble, frail, spiritless. Antonyms includes robust, muscular, bony, powerful, and homonymous. It's weak. For the term weak, when used as in a weak object, some synonyms are like fragile, unsound, flimsy, pointless, flint. Antonyms includes solid, strong, rectified, and weak in again a homonym. In some way, word-word relationship considered as a family relation. Suppose there are two family, like family A and family B. Family A have some members and family B have some members too. With regard to the relationship among family members, the members among family A are symmetrical and the members among family B are symmetrical as well. But the member among family A and family B is asymmetrical. Similarly, when two words are similar, they consider as synonymous words and they mean the same meaning. Otherwise, they are antonym and they mean different. Words are allied in many other ways as well. When thinking about the relationship between two words, you must examine those words for ways in which they are different. Come for the next relation, word language relation. We understand that language constitutes an interplay of 5 phases: syntax, lexis, graphology, phonology, and semantics. The first 4 phases like syntax, lexis, graphology, phonology entails choices. The last phase, semantics, provides an explanatory outlines of for the meaning outcomes of the choices. According to semantic triangle of meaning, there is a relationship among thought, symbols, and referent. And it highlights the indirect relationship between the symbol and referent, as we can see that I have already shown. The thought is the conception or idea of person reference. The symbol is the word that represents the thought, and referent is the object or idea to which the symbol refers. This is a meaning theory which is useful for us as communicators because when we are aware of the indirect relationship between symbols and referent, we are aware of how common misunderstanding occur. As the following example illustrates. Suppose Rajiv and Simi have been thinking about getting a new house, and each of them is having a similar thought. They are each using the same symbol, the word house, to communicate about their thought. Their referent, however, are different. Rajiv is thinking about 2 BHK, like a guest house, but Simi is thinking about 2 BHK, like a big spacious house. Since the word house doesn't refer to one special object in our reality, it is possible for them to have the same thought and use the same symbol, but end up in an obstinate moment when they get to the shelter and fall in love with their respective referent only to find out the other person did not have the same thing in mind. Now come to the third relation, that is about word-mind relation. Words are held in the mind. Precisely to understand the relationship between lexical development and process of word association. To better understand the relationship between lexical semantics and mental lexicon. This investigation explore and compare the word associations. It attempts to understand how mental links are made between lexical items in the mental lexicons. Here, the mental lexicon and language learning has discussed about the human ability to communicate that makes social life and the formation, substances of a community possible. Central to the communicative process stands the use of language. It is our ability to speak our mind and the words that carry thought to another mind. That is the core of communication. Words act as token or vehicles to make language between people possible. Words become language when they are combined in a particular way, implying that words keeps relationship. Whenever words fulfill and perform any number of complex functions in language, arguably as its most complexest and least understood in the mind of the language users. Now come for the next relations, that is word-word relation. Word-word relation throughout mentalism. Many philosophers of language trying to understand the relationship between language and reality believe that a middle term must lead to the drawbacks uncovered already by previous appeal to the mental realm. The alternative purpose is based on the indispensability of the notion of practice in any account of language, its relation to the world. According to referential realism, meaning is achieved through a direct association of linguistic elements with independent fragments of the real world. In this context, Wittgenstein argues that logic must take care of itself. For Wittgenstein, meaning must be prior to truth. Now, Frege in his book Foundation of Arithmetic have used a principle called context principle. According to this principle, it is not merely a rejection of atomism or mentalism. It's a methodological decision to answer metaphysical question by looking at our language. By understanding conception as words as belonging to linguistic structure. Here, Bertrand Russell in his article on denoting heads argues that there is a problem in Frege's context principle. And he declares that all thinking has to start from acquaintance. And this aspect of Russell's position is precisely the one attacked later by Wittgenstein's slogan and discussed in Word and World. Russell proposes a solution to a problem caused by Frege's to Leibniz's principle of solva veritate. Now come for the last section, that is about appraisal of arguments of the study. First one is semantic atomism argument. There are several historical and contemporary theories of meaning which have been arguing and discussing about the word meaning relationship. For these theories of meaning of a word is not so wider than rather it is limited to their minimal efficacy. For example, sometimes the meaning of a word is limited to just the word only, limited to another single word only, limited to single sentence only, limited to the world only, limited to mind only, limited to particular language only, limited to particular dialect of a particular language, limited to particular culture, limited to particular religion, limited to particular caste, limited to particular gender, limited to particular notion, limited to particular act, limited to particular writings, limited to particular intuition, limited to particular sound, limited to particular music composition, limited to particular musically, limited to particular circumstance, limited to divine within a again it is limited to divine within a divine particular deity. With regard to the doctrine of semantic atomism, there are several arguments have been advocated by several philosophers, such as additional semantic theory. Meaning is related to mind only, so meaning is mental. We use words just to convey our thought, our ideas. In this context, John Locke says, the meaning of word is just associated with our ideas. This theory is advocated. It is something behavioristic semantics theory, which is advocated by B.F. Skinner. For him, the semantics for a natural language is behavioristic. It means the meaning of an expression is uttered on a particular occasion is either the behavioral stimulus that produces the utterance, or the behavioral response that the utterance produces, or it's a combination of both. So the meaning of brown cow is that suppose a person's body recoils when he hears brown cow, but not when he hears either brown or cow alone. The meaning of brown cow, which includes recoiling, therefore not determined by or not predictable from the meaning of brown or cow. So now referential semantics. Here, meaning of a word has derived from world. So world and word are closely connected. So the meaning of word is just restricted to the world only. So in this theory is advocated by Bertrand Russell and John Stuart Mill. The And linguistic expressions. Linguistic expressions are sign of something other than themselves. Meanings of expression is implied to the world. Suppose a person trying to understand onion, then the meaning of an onion is just applied to onion and nothing else. Here, the possible world semantics. Meaning of proper or common noun is a function from possible world to individuals and to things. Given a possible world as input, yes, the meaning returns as output the individual and things that the noun applies to it to in that world. Perhaps unicorn is meaningful because of what it would apply to in certain circumstances, though in actuality it doesn't apply to anything else. Now, Fregean semantics. According to Frege, the meaning of an expression consists of two elements. One is referent and sense. Both the referent and sense of an expression contributes systematically to the truth or falsehood. Here, truth value is important of the sentence in which the expression occurred. And then, according to verificationists, the meaning of the theory of meaning has developed by members of the, as we know, Behera circle or logical positivists. They have argued that the meaning of a sentence is given by an account of the experience on the basis of which the sentence would be verified. There are sentences that are unverified through any possible experiences are literally meaningless. Now, next, Alfred Tuskey and Donald Davidson has developed certain theory, according to them, that is called truth conditional semantics. According to this theory, meaning made a significant effort in resuscitated meaning. Davidson proposed that a semantic theory of a natural language is adequate just in case for each sentence in the object language. And the theory entails a statement of the form S is true just in case of P, where S is a sentence in the object language and P is a translation of that sentence in the meta language. For the sentence snow is white, for example, the theory should entail a statement of the form snow is white is true just in case snow is white. For Davidson, the meaning of world cannot be determined in terms of behavior, but on the basis of truth. Tuskey defined truth for formal languages in terms of relation of satisfaction between the constituents of sentence and consequence of object, sequences of objects, sorry. Here, Gilbert conceptual role of semantics, Gilbert and Ned Block both talked about conceptual role of semantics. So according to them, the meaning of an expression for a speaker is the same as its conceptual role in the speaker's mental life. Roughly speaking, the conceptual role of an expression is the sum of its contribution to references and that involve sentences containing that expression. Because the conceptual role played by I is the same for both A and B. The meanings of the two utterances of I am 30 years old are the same, even though the referent of I in each case is distinct. Christian semantics here, Paul Grice talked about meaning, and for him, meaning of a sentence can be understood in terms of a speaker's intention to induce a belief in the hearer by means of the hearer's recognition of that intention. Next argument is semantic isomorphism. Isomorphism can exist between two levels of linguistic analysis. For example, the notion of allophims, which is similar to the one of lexical synonyms, and the one of syntactic paraphrases. Isomorphism is the structural identity of two languages, one-to-one correspondence of properties or two propositions. To say of two languages are isomorphic is to say that they have the same structural identity. That's called logical form. In this context, Wittgenstein says that, or in Wittgenstein's Tractatus, it argues that a proposition is a picture that is isomorphism with a correspondent state of affair. There are two versions. One is stronger version, another one is weaker version. According to stronger version, the names will stand in a relation of references to the world. And in weaker version, only it is relational fact with the symbolized by relational sentences. There is no requirement of sentences will have reference to a relation in the world. So, according to Karnov, if two sentences are logically equivalent, then they have the same number of corresponding components, then they are intentionally isomorphic. Now come for the next argument, that is semantic externalism. According to this argument, the meaning of an utterance doesn't determine by just the mind, but also by the extended mind. The doctrine semantic externalism can be understood in different dimensional ways, but here we have highlighted only main three ways. One is extension of mind, another one is extension of the content of the mind, and third one is for e mind. Firstly, extension of mind or extended mind, it means being committed to a claim of external location rather than simply external individuation. It is constituted by or is composed of factors that lies outside those boundaries. This idea, extended mind, was coined by and Chalmers. Secondly, the view content extension or extension of the mental content. It means whether we understand or relate to our surroundings. That is the introspection of our own mental state. This view is that the content of our thought are determined in part of our relation to the environment. In this form of externalism, the states of our mind and the act of our mind are different. So, in this context, the form of extended mind can be understood in two different ways. One is state-oriented extended mind and process-oriented extended mind. In case of state-oriented extended mind, we identify a mental state that is called belief with an external structure that is called sentence. But in case of process-oriented extended mind, we do not identify the mental state with an external structure. It's a belief with a sentence. Rather, there is, first of all, a mental process. Now, thirdly, the view is about for e mind. For e mind is something about extended mind. Extended mind supplies one of the E. E is in what has become known as for e cognition. For e cognition, the basic idea about for e is that there are some mental processes like embodied, embedded, enacted, extended, or some combination thereof. It's a holistic framework of mental process, which determines meaning of an utterance in a holistic manner. Furthermore, the view of semantic externalism is often summed up with Hilary Putnam's famous slogan, meanings just aren't in the head. For Putnam, the meaning is an utterance, not only dependent on our mental process, rather, its extension, such as like socio-linguistic division of labor and our environment. Now come for the next argument, that is about semantic holism. It holds that language functions as a system of which the sentences are a part. The sentences are the building blocks of language. The sentences are so interlinked in the language that if we change the meaning of a sentence, then we are compelled to change the meaning of many other sentences. This happens not only in the ordinary language, but also in any constructed logical language, like the language of science. The principle of semantic holism claims the meaning of an expression in a language is determined together so that they cannot be disassociated from one another. For example, the word book. The book has meaning only in the language this word has a place. We cannot determine the meaning of word book without taking into account how the word is used in sentences of the language. Suppose this is a tree, cannot have meaning except in the language in which the sentence occurs, and also in connection with other sentences with which the sentence is related. Now, Quine's holistic theory of meaning expounded the Boehm-Quine thesis that sentences have a theory that are closely connected with one another, and one cannot be disassociated with other. And this theory is a system of language in which the meaning and truth of sentences are so interlinked that we cannot determine the meaning of one sentence without taking into account system as a whole. Therefore, Quine rejected the logical positivist atomistic theory, and he develops an alternative approach, an alternative model in semantics that shows how meaning works holistically. To establish this theory, he offers arguments which are very much powerful. Firstly, he argues against analytic synthetic dichotomy, and he suggested that analytic synthetic distinction creates a basic problem for the meaning holism. So the notion of analytic synthetic distinction should be rejected. Secondly, he argues that the verification theory of meaning could not explain meaning because sentences cannot be verified individually, as sentences are related to what other sentences, and thereby they form up concrete bodies of sentences. Thus, the semantic trust of verifiability is wrong. With regard to semantic holism, if we put light on Putnam's accounts of semantic externalism, we will find the same, but in a different way. That is, meaning of a word, sentence, utterances, languages, etc. are not just depends on our mind, rather the mind as well as beyond the mind. Otherwise, the semantics appropriateness cannot be fulfilled, and it will create many problems like theory-practice dichotomy, mind-body dichotomy, explanatory gap between subject to subject, enough problems, linguistic problems, etc. All of these problems have resolved by Putnam in his different doctrines, such as twin thought experiment and meaning of meaning, semantic externalism, etc. Now come for the next argument, that is semantic density. Here we have discussed that meanings are transparent. It means meaning never play anywhere isolate. It's a kind of mirror through which everything is visible. Nothing can be hid behind it because it is in everything. The very fundamental density of semantics of line, sentence, words, utterances, etc. is to determine meaning. But semantics of words, sentence, and utterances are not stable in many cases due to many reasons. So we believe in semantic changes. There are several reasons behind the semantic change. These are as follows. One is semantic changes results from the use of language in context, whether linguistics or extra linguistics. Later, meanings of forms are connected to earlier ones, where all semantic changes arises by policing. New meaning coexist with earlier ones, typically in restricted context. Sometimes new meanings split off from earlier ones and are no longer considered variants by language users. Come for the next origin behind this, that is semantic changes is often considered unsystematic, suggests that there is in fact significant cross-linguistic regularity in semantic change. These are semasiologically perspectives on semantic change. Onomasiological perspectives on semantic change. Inferencing model of semantic change. Semanticization of conversational implicatures, where conventional implicatures are a component of speaker's meaning that arises from the interaction between what the speaker says and the rational principle of communication. Conversational implications are suggested by an utterance, but not entailed. For example, the utterance from students came to the party strongly suggested that some, but not all students come to the party. Even though the utterance would be true, strictly speaking, if all students came to the party. Your semantic destiny is something like matrix through instinct transformed in the purpose of the instinct determines the holistic meanings. Semantic destiny is a kind of destiny through which we are able to count meaning in multiple ways, which is sometimes called semantic openness. Semantic openness is an essential feature of human language. It is also considered a semantic fact. Now come for the last argument, that is semantics of epistemic modality argument. Semantics of epistemic modals, which implies that epistemic modal signals that it's reached from a body of evidence. It consists of an evidential component which signals a source of information and an epistemic component which reflects the speaker's assessment of the source of information. This may insist in understanding the speaker's choice of epistemic models in an utterance and the difference in strength between epistemically modalized sentences and unmodalized one. Consider the following sentences where most and may be used an epistemic model. One is, for example, John must be rich and John may be rich. After observing John spending a lot of money to buy very expensive things, you might reach a strong conjecture, as in, John must be rich. It's a weak presumption, as in, John may be rich. He's rich, that he's rich. It is based on your observation. It's based on your knowledge. Hence, most in one, that is called John must be rich and may be rich are semantic, are epistemic. Here sentences like one and B, both John must be rich and John may be rich, implies that the speaker does not know for sure that John is rich. The epistemic use of models is interesting not only because the speaker has a body of knowledge and that leads his or her to the conclusion. But the knowledge is not sufficient to make it known to the speaker that no, John is rich, but also because the speaker may choose either a strong epistemic model like must or a weak epistemic model like may, even in the situation mentioned above that I already seen. She sees John spending a lot of money. Models can carry various model meaning. In possible worlds, semantics, the model operates are semantically dealt with in terms of an associability relation with which holds between members in the set of the possible worlds based on a relation. For example, deontic modality is evaluated with respect to a set of accessible worlds, consists with what the law or regulation provides, and the accessible worlds for epistemic modalities are, on the other hand, those that are compatible with what is known. The semantic compatibility, in other words, necessity modals are treated as universal quantifier over accessible worlds, and on the other hand, possibility modals as existential quantifier over accessible world. when it comes to the semantics of epistemic models, as was mentioned briefly earlier, it is based on entailment. It is based on compatibility by what is known according to the standard semantic analysis, including Kreiser's epistemic necessity models like must say that the proposition P under the scope of model operators, it is true. It is true in a word, if and only if it entails from that what is known. Whereas epistemic possibility models like may and can assert that the present proposition is true if W, if and only if P is compatible with what is known. Now, I would like to conclude. This paper studies the argument of her theories of meaning. I suggest understanding different theories of meaning as characterizing the atomistic relation between the meaning of an expression and its agents and its argument. And we can best apprehension that landscapes that the holistic maintains by construing holism as the view that the meaning of an expression is determined by every other expressions in the language of individual components users. Like other doctrines of meaning claims that if the words are same, the meanings of words must remain the same. It doesn't imply either that whenever there is a change in the word, the meaning must change accordingly, nor the differences of the words like word side must leads to differences on the meaning side. The often unproven anxiety that if meanings are holistic and transparent, the change in one's language will change the meaning of all the expression in every language. Every language, it doesn't follow. Here, the inferential relation, inferential role, logical role, any atomistic role of semantics, even epistemic role of semantics, doesn't work. So all these roles are inherently present in this semantic holism. But once semantic holism is worked out, then no features of semantic atomism will work out over semantic holism. This is only because of magical nature of language, magical nature of utterances of words. And this magical nature of words or utterances means the transparency quality of words, transparency quality of utterances, the way words utterance means. This is what I would like to say. This is the real destiny of semantics. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Behera. It was really very engaging and enriching lecture. Now the session is open for discussion. Participants may ask their question directly if they have any. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Professor Samaseva Prasad speaking. And I had to congratulate the budding scholar, Dr. Behera, for neatly expounding the importance of language. In fact, the philosophy of language, it constitutes an important aspect in philosophy. We all know that Wittgenstein is the central figure of the philosophy of language through his thought-provoking and innovative works, Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus and Philosophical Investigations. So he has thrown enough light on the philosophy of language, and subsequently it was developed and in a number of ways by thinkers, J. Law, and many other thinkers like Quine and Austin and others. So I have no particular question about that except appreciating the scholar and Dr. Behera. He has given very nice exposition of his theme. Once again, I congratulate him. And it is one of the important themes of philosophical discussions. I congratulate you, Dr. Behera. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Rajan, if you have any question, please ask, or you can write in the chat box. Or
Am
you
I
may-
audible too?
Yeah, you are audible.
Thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate Rajiv sir that he has delivered a wonderful lecture on a very new topic. It was very intriguing. So basically, I have two queries. One is that considering the fact that verification theory of meaning has long been refuted, we have lots of argument for that, like how verification theory of meaning has lots of limitations. So my first question is, there is one problem that interests me a lot, and that problem is how to stretch the reach of semantics to the metaphysical objects. There is absolute, there is Brahman, or Shiva, or whatever we want to say. There is an ideal of absolutist philosophy. So how can we reach the limits or reach of semantics to those metaphysical objects? Throughout the history of philosophy, we have seen that scholars or the proponent of those absolute philosophy said that those absolute cannot be put into the words. We cannot explain them. The idea of anirvachanyata or inexpressibility. So these are some of the problems that basically comes into our mind. So how can we enlarge the limit of the semantics and can comprehend the absolute or whatever you want to say to that thing? So this is my first question. I will ask the second later. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajan, for your interesting questions. It is something to know about the world-wide relationships because it's a metaphysical query in semantics, how semantics deal with metaphysical situations. It's not a big issue because from the very beginning, many important uh, philosophers of languages have provided many different theories. But here in this paper, I have mentioned two triangles and one table of the semantic tables. There I represent that how a person will communicate with the things. In order to communicate with things, a person should make some direct relation and have to do some epistemic framework on that. Unless until the epistemic apparatus or epistemic activities is not fulfilled, it is not possible to grasp the things. Though semantics and epistemic both are two different things, but in terms of understanding it plays, it functions like two sides of the same coin. So whatever I have mentioned in the triangle, that is semantic triangle, it's a interlinked system. You have to communicate, you have to correlate with the things through your cognitions and to make an indirect relation with what you thought, what you have thought about. Then you will find something that what word means. So it's not a simple way of understanding. That means it's not a one way of understanding. So you find multiple rays, like as you know, the sun rays. There are infinite number of rays. So in that way, you have to understand. So that depends on you, but it functions like this. So this is the process or theory, or you can say it's a model of thought as provided in order to get semantics of anything or the semantics of metaphysical things. Thank you. Do you have
Uh,
any question?
My second question would be that, when you propose the very title of your thesis supposes that words are quite magical.
Ah,
Suppose words are magical. So I just want to know, words are sometimes also create some sort of hallucinations. Sometimes
listen.
we are not very much attached to the reality itself. So how do you look at those magical aspect on the one hand and hallucination on the other hand? Suppose
Yeah.
if someone proposes a theory like Shankaracharya that this world is under the Maya, so we are not basically connected to the reality. So how do you try to connect the idea of word as a magic to the idea of reality? So do you
Yes.
find any kind of relationship word as a magic and world relationship with the reality? So magic and reality kind of thing. How do you look at this thing?
Yeah, for your question, it's very, there is a simple way, there is a simple solution. No need to worry. That is something you are worried about your mentality, it's a memory. Try to control that. Then make the relation with what, how it functioning, how it is related. Then you can get. If you worried about your mentality, what is already stored in the mind will dominate you. You never find any word, what is there or what is that. So therefore there is problem of hallucination. Hallucination is just because of the store of mind, mentality, memory, whatever you have stored in the mind. That means you are more emphasizing on your mind, your memory, not about the word, not about the world even. That's the problem. Okay, thank you. Hello. It's magical because it's the. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Ganesh Prasad Das, sir. It's a question which is very interesting but very simple because we are just read about when we use certain word. I use the word magic. Why it's called magic? So magic is also a word. So the title signify the magical significance of the word is nothing but the transparency, multifarious ways of using, interpreting, and understanding. That's just called magic. Here, confused always. It's not simple a single way of understanding. It never provide you what is that confusion. The original meaning of magical magic of word is to simplify, to rectify confusion, and to provide solid sense of something. Whatever words, whatever things, or whatever word you are using for the things, this is the way I understood. So magic is not something myth. Magic is very much practical. It's not myth in my sense. Thank you, sir.
I did not say that magic is myth. You did not say that. But why do you use the word magic? Magic implies that something illusory, as Rajan said, that it might imply a hallucination also. When the
Yeah,
magician shows you a magic, you are bemused. You would
I
not get a transparent idea about what is what. So why do you use the word which becomes confusing? You are dealing with the clear sense of words. You are doing with philosophy of language, analysis of language, in order to drive home the clear sense of anything that is said. But why do you use a confused word for that?
I believe that as a philosophical language student, I should take it very seriously, not in a peculiar manner. We are using magic. Magic is a word for me, something is very serious.
Do you have a
So,
license to use
seriousness
any word
makes
in any sense? Huh?
seriousness makes sense.
As a philosopher of a language,
Drama, not for any theater hall, what is magician is showing us. It's a serious job of philosophical language.
this is also connected with another conception.
Acquire, to get multiple sense of a single things, single word. This is my
You say
job
that.
here.
You say that clearly. Wittgenstein has done that in philosophical investigations. You say that clearly. Why do you use a different word which creates confusion rather than clarity? Clarity is your goal,
Sorry, sir.
and you bring in often the word intention. Intention is psychological and subjective. Why do you bring in the psychological idea into logical sense of meaning?
Yes, that is what I'm saying. I'm taking it very seriously. Means I am not biased by any kind of we can say any kind of force, any kind of pressure. Like you give the example of intentionality. Intentionality is not the matter of fact
That's
through which we
funny.
can get the sense of something else. Intention is the part and parcel. It cannot be avoided. It can be entertained in a very systematic and serious manner.
Mm.
Respect to intention, then we get the partial sense. Something is similar to nothing.
There is
Thank you.
another question there. There is another question over there.
Yes.
You say that the meaning of names and meaning of propositions, you
Yes, sir.
bring in the word isomorphic, meaning
Yes.
isomorphism.
Yes, sir.
But you see, Wittgenstein has clearly distinguished between meaning of names and meaning of propositions. He says that names have meaning, propositions are sense, not meaning. The asymmetry is there. There is no symmetry between meaning of names and meaning of propositions.
Yes, sir. I have used that because of that is the part of my magic. I have
Oh,
used it differently. That is the part.
you see, by giving a simple name magic, you do not hold a license to do anything that you want.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Now I would request Professor D.M. Tiwari, sir, for his presidential remark. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Misra. Priyanka Misra ji. Respected Professor Anand Misra, Chairman of the department. My colleagues in the department, students, and so many scholars online, Professor G.P. Das, Professor Samshiv Prasad, and many scholars are there. Really, we enjoyed the lecture by R.C. Behera, R.L. Behera. I am correcting it, R.L. Behera, Lochan Behera. Is a young but very promising scholar that we witnessed today while he was presenting his lecture. And the way he responded, the scholars, very experienced scholars like G.P. Das and Shamsi Prasad, they asked some questions. And he responded well. He has touched almost all the popular topics, keeping all the topics in one head, magic of the word, the episto-semantic semantic interpretation. So really the topic sounds very great. And the discussion also, his presentation was brilliant. But ordinary people and those who are not specialists, they have joined us to know what is the magic of the word. Huh? What Behera, Professor Behera is going to show the magic of the word. This is what general ordinary like us expected. But the thing is that his discussion was seriously on the magic which he realizes to get in using the word the way for several meanings. How the words are used for meanings. How the same word can mean this, or how the same meaning can be used for same meaning can be denoted, can be expressed by different words. So in semantics you usually do in many ways. In semantics generally we study the dictionary meanings. So if you find a word there in dictionary, you will have so many meanings. And through the uses, we try to decide semantically and synthetically that this may be the meaning, this may be the meaning, this may be the meaning. This is the miracle. When we were students of class 8 and 9, you were also playing the magic of the words, building sentences by the words. Some sentences emerged, sometimes some meanings, some words came sometimes, some words came sometimes. So, but semantics is not so superficial. It is much developed, and the developed history of the semantics Professor Behera has presented here, starting from Aristotle, discussing Russell and the later linguistic philosophers. I'm happy he's a knowledgeable person, and I especially thank Professor Behera. Actually, the problem is we are the finite human beings. Our language is also finite, and it is determinator. So all the time it determines this meaning, this meaning, this meaning. But the meaning is outside. It is referred only. So it is not experienced, known. It is referred only. So a word can refer to this, to that, any. The thing is important. Okay. You can know the different uses of the word for different meanings. But there is great discussion in Indian philosophy also on this, that, okay, there may be several meanings of a word, any word. Primary meaning, that is popular meaning, on which our communication is based. So if I express something you are understanding, you know it, and you can respond it, you can ask questions. So that is because of I am using popular words. Popular in the communication, world of communication. So apart from that, there are intended meaning and non-intended meanings also. So a word can have a different intended and non-intended meanings. This is the magic. This is the magic of the word. Discussion after this is more important in Indian philosophy. And I have discussed it in 2-3 chapters of my latest book, Dynamics of the Language, the philosophy of the word of the words. How to decide what is specific, intended or non-intended meaning is conveyed by the word. How to decide? What are the criteria? What are the factors? So, in Indian philosophy, Indian discussion, we found that there are 6-7 criteria to decide the intended meaning. What intended meaning is there? I will give some example also, if time permits. Head of the department. Because it is very hard, I think that I will not be allowed much time. So, in very brief, my friend Bagre is also here. The second, what are these? I will give example also, intended meaning. And non-intended meanings. A word can be used for a number of non-intended meanings. Very difficult to decide which one is in use. For which meaning the word is used. So there are criteria for factors. At least 14 factors Bhartrihari has given in Vakyapadi. Apart from that, the meanings of a word, of a sentence, is decided in 2 ways. First, word by word, connecting to them. One word connected to the other. So this connection is relation. And you know, relation in Western philosophy, that is the referential and representational philosophy. Representation philosophy, Professor Durgesh Chaudhary is here. They accept sociological epistemology, socio-epistemology, and others. So how the convention. So convention, by convention we decide this meaning or that meaning. So convention is not one layered. Because you know, I will come one by one. When I was child, my father used to say, see, that is a dog or a donkey. So when I grown up, after 5, and used to be dull and abiding in my studies, used to say, you are donkey, gadha. So the second level of convention. The third level of convention is that if I am listening so much and understanding nothing, and I am a scholar, so that is also gadha hai. So you see, at least three level of convention. But they have not cared, the Westerners have not cared about this 3 level of convention, just convention. So I have convention with you, but my convention with a child will be different from what I have the convention with you about some sentence, about some word. So all these things are discussed here. And above all, ordinary persons criteria for deciding a meaning of the word the way it is used. For example, poison. So what is the criteria of the ordinary people? They know that the word poison will not kill, but the poison itself, if it taken, may kill. So mountain, oh huge mountain and all that. But when we have some touch with the mountain, then you can understand that mountain can hurt you and all that. So this is the ordinary person's criteria of deciding the meaning the way the word is used for that. Some example. Now I'm giving one by one example for intended meanings and for non-intended meanings. What are the criteria they have given? If necessary, I will speak. Otherwise, Professor Behera's lecture was perfect, and no need to say any more about his subject he has covered. But I am not interested to give a parallel lecture also. But since many one of you are research scholars, it may interest you. Therefore, I am saying few words. Suppose from intended meaning. So, very, very popular example is given. Gangayam Ghosa. Gangayam Ghosa. The residence in the current of the water, flow of the water. This is the literal meaning. So literal meaning is not conducive to that. So intended meaning, the bank of the river, is taken into account. See the magic of the word. But suppose you are in America and somebody saying that, oh, your house is Gangayam Ghosa. What does it mean? What does it mean? You are not near the bank of the Ganga, or not in the Ganga, not in the houseboat. Despite that, somebody is saying you are residing in America, and somebody is saying that, oh, Gangayam Ghosa. What does it mean? This means cool and sacred place. Your house is cool, your house is sacred, clean, sacred. So this is also the meaning. Non-intended meaning. So intended meaning Gangayam Ghosa means bank of the river, not in the current of the flow, in the flow of the river. Other example I am giving. Suppose somebody is saying, let's see, बैल पढ़ रहा है. The cow cannot read. So the meaning of the word cow is cow the animal having hoof, tail, horn, and etc. But I am saying the cow. गांव में तो लोग कहते हैं ना, ये बैल है, बैल पढ़ रहा है. What does it mean? So intended meaning is that he is less intelligent. He is less intelligent, doing again and again, but not remembering anything. Or he is lazy, or he is not of such a brain that the study suits to him, and like that. हमको भी तो लोग कहते थे गधा है पढ़ रहा है, बचपन में लोग कहते थे. तो दिस इज द इंटेंडेड मीनिंग. बट एक तीसरा अर्थ हो गया, कोई somebody is carrying a heavy load, and for that also the word cow, next cow. In Vedic Sanskrit there is no word for the bail. There is only cow word used for both the guy and bail, son. But the word next cow, Goditiyam, is used for bail. So if he is carrying loads like cow, the word cow is used for him, that he is a cow. He is a cow. See how my other ways, if somebody is herding the cow, somebody is having so many cows, he is also called Gau. Gauravahika. The person who domesticates the cows, who herds the cows in For that also the word cow is used. See the magic. Other meanings are also. If somebody is innocent, the word cow is used for that. So you see, so several dictionary meanings. They have all significant in the way they are used for. So that is, some of them are intended meaning, some are non-intended. For example, you see another example. Banat Brihasring Khadganiyatam. Bring the large horn uh, from the forest. Khadganiyatam. Large horn, large khadga. Khadga means sword. Bring the large sword from the forest. So sword means, popularly sword is used in the wars and like that in medieval time. But here the sword does not, khadga does not mean the sword. Khadga here means an animal having long horn. जिसकी सींग बड़ी होती है उस एनिमल के लिए लॉन्ग हॉर्न एनिमल के लिए खड्ग शब्द का प्रयोग है. हाउ डू यू नो? इज इट नॉट ए मिरेकल? So how it is decided? It is decided by the factors, the rupa and karya, the function and the form. It also decided the meaning of the word. Nimitta nimitti, the base and the base, the cow and the cowherd, both are known as nimitta nimitti. This way also the meaning of the word is known. According to the degree of foolishness in persons is less than the foolishness in the animal. Therefore, the meaning of the intended meaning of the word is decided whether it is the animal or it is the child who is dull. So, several criteria, several factors have been given in Indian system to decide which intended meaning out of the different intended meaning are said or the word used for. Similarly, for non-intended meanings, he has given so many forms, but that is very technical. I will give only one or two examples. You know, here in Sanskrit, Akshayra Divyati. Aksha means the dice. Jua. वो जो शकुनी वाला जुआ, dice. Divyati. You see, the word is Divyati, making great. But here the Divyat and the Akshay, both leaves its primary meaning and they mean for secondary meaning. Therefore, it means he plays with the dice. So this is the magic of using the words, sentences. Again, you see, if somebody says that what he is eating, bring a fish from the market. So people know that he will not eat he will eat only the flesh of the fish, not the thorns, not the bones and other things. But the word fish is known by him as fish with all these bones and fins and all that. So see, this is also a very good example. And other examples are there. See now, Ramarjun. The word Ram is very popular. But when it is used with Ramarjun, Parasurama and Rama Lakshmana, the same word Ram is meaning for different meanings. Ramarjun. Ramarjun, you know, Shastra. Parsuram. So association with the Parsu means Parsuram. Ram means Parsuram. And when it is associated with Lakshman, it means Ram, the son of the Dasarath. And likewise, so many meanings the word Ram is used in Ramantik. Ram Krinayam. रमंती जो सब प्राणियों में रमन करता है वो राम है, ये भी एक राम का अर्थ है. So with association of the words, the same word Ram means differently. And he has given 14 factors to decide which one is. Time and space also, they are very important. When I say Patanga, Patang usually means the Surya, the sun. But when I'm saying, see the Patanga, so it means the Patanga means kite, a kind of bird, insect, like that. So Patang means that, not this one. But when I am uttering the same word Patang in the daytime, it means the sun. So sun, the meaning sun is decided if it is Sandha Maniyatam. So if the purpose is to go to the war, then the Sandha means the horse. But if the purpose is you are at the dining table and you are asking for Sandha, Sandha means the salt, belonging to the Sandha region. So the same word Sandha have different meanings. All those belonging to the Sandha region may mean by the word Sandha. But according to the context, according to the intention of the speaker, see one example. If I say Gangayam Ghosa, so 3 meanings I have already told you. But you know Jayant Bhatta, he said Tatpari is also a meaning. Have you the intention to communicate a houseboat, you can say Gangayam Ghosa. If there is no houseboat also, but if it is a huge piece, you can say, see, Gangayam Ghosa. So it may mean, the Ghosha may mean the huge piece, the huge tortoise. So the same word may mean differently, and the meaning is decided according to the different factors. So really we enjoyed this lecture by Behera ji, and I am very thankful to Professor Anand Mishra ji, who invited me to share my views with all my young friends, my students, research scholars, and so many great scholars here. With these words, I'm very happy that the Department of Philosophy is involved seriously, intensively to make a history about the participation of the sharing of the thoughts of the young scholars and the experts. So for this, I'm very much thankful to Professor Anand Mishra and his team, my colleagues. So I'm retired, but I am still teaching. In so many foreign countries, I am an international academic. So I am also involved in teaching, and I also want to enjoy sharing of thoughts in the Department of Philosophy. And so I am here. I'm thankful for this to Professor Anand Mishra. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. Your remarks were truly incredible. And now I would request Dr. Rahul to present a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Priyanka. I'm really glad and honored to propose vote of thanks to our learned speaker and distinguished chair of the day. So I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Lochan Behera, for his uh, detailed and thought-provoking uh, presentation that he made today. And he was so much enthused to make this presentation that he was not ready to wait any longer. And today we have seen through his presentation the serious interest that he has undertaken in academic activities. So thank you so much, Dr. Rajiv, for your excellent presentation, and you have really enlightened us and given or you have made occasion for us to think about semantics of words or epistemology of words. Though the word magic has been really contested and it has really provoked the participants to ask many questions. I would also like to thank our chair, Professor D.N. Tiwari sir, for kindly agreeing and accepting the invitation to chair this session. And it has been really enlightening for us, uh, the kind of lucid remarks that you made on semantics of words from Indian and Western perspectives. And it is also to be thanked the kind of loving affection that you have towards the department. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us and gracing this occasion. Next, I would like to thank our head professor, Anand Mishra sir, for his really serious interest in the academic activities. And that has really made us to witness these Saturday seminar activities every week. So thank you so much, sir, for your kind interest in the Saturday seminar. And that has really motivated and encouraged us, all of us. So thank you so much, sir. And I would also like to thank our convener, Dr. Priyanka Misra, who has excellently and beautifully conveyed this entire talk today. So you also deserve a praise from all of us from the department. So I would like to thank you on the behalf of the department. Next, I would also like to thank many of our professors who are present here and connected through online. I can see Dr. Pramod Bagre sir, Professor Durgesh Chaudhary sir, and Professor Sambasiva sir, and Professor Ganesh Prasad sir, and Professor D.A. Gangadhar sir. So I would like to thank each and every professor and colleagues who are participating in this seminar. And next, I would also like to thank our research scholars who are the essential component of any academic affair that we have. So thank you all. And at the last, I would also like to thank our staff of the department, without whom we can't have any successful event. So thank you each and everyone for being with us and making this event successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rahul. Bye.
Okay, now with the permission of the head of the department and the chair, I would like to end the session. Thank you all.